Hi everybody, and welcome to another special episode of Ask a STEM Sister. Today we are talking to each other. I'm Dr. Bandu.
I'm Ami Bakare.
And we are going to be talking today about something that comes up a lot when we're talking to young women who are interested in STEM fields and women in STEM already who are looking for ways to advance their career. And that is
the difference between a mentor and a sponsor.
Mentor and a sponsor. So the word mentor and the act of mentoring, I think, gets like thrown around a lot. So people will say, I'm looking for a mentor, or people will say, I like mentoring young ladies, or I've mentored so many people.
I think it's like a buzzword.
Yeah, it's a thing that people say, a term that people use a lot. So let me just clarify that being a mentor, it actually can mean different things. Like when you're in graduate school, particularly when you're going through your PhD program, I don't know how it is outside of like biomedical science, but that person whose lab you join is,
okay,
you know, officially a principal investigator, but to you, they are your mentor. So some people actually call that person their mentor. So someone might, instead of saying whose lab are you in, someone might just say, who's your mentor? And that's the person who's going to like give you your PhD, right? That's your mentor.
Got it.
And there are people who use boss, like I used to say my boss all the time, or you might just say your PI, because some people find that person doesn't actually mentor them. So we'll get into what that means and what it doesn't. So I guess maybe you can talk a little bit about what mentoring, like what that means to you, because it actually does have a different meaning.
Okay.
I think for us when we just casually say mentor.
Yeah, so that is not a concept that I've had just from like not doing a PhD. But in my career, a mentor is somebody that either gets assigned to you, if you're lucky enough to be in a program. So where I work, we have an IT program for new hires, and it's supposed to teach you about all the different areas of IT at the company. And through that program, you get assigned a mentor.
Oh, okay.
Now, you know, the same, like you said, I mean, that person might not be, you know, a mentor to you in that way, but that is what they are assigned to you to do. And so you can either have a mentor assigned to you through a program, or you can now seek out somebody to be your mentor. And so I've had both. I've joined several groups. So I've joined that IT program, so the elite program, where I was assigned a mentor. And then I've done several other like mentoring circles where there's like a group of mentors that get assigned to a lot of people. And then I've also sought out mentors based on like a list of people that a previous manager gave to me, which he's awesome. Shout him out.
Awesome. Yeah. So we just wanted to start, you know, kind of with that general concept of what a mentor is, because there are these like, they are formal mentors in a way, because like you've been assigned that person, or when you choose a lab to be in, I mean, that person is not just saying, yeah, I'll let you work in my lab. It's understood that person is going to teach you how to publish. That person is going to show you how they run a lab, so that, you know, you're learning things about being, you know, eventually someone who runs his or her own lab down the line. So in that way, like, they are mentoring you because they're just showing you what you wouldn't see otherwise. And so we're not, like, for this video, we're not talking about those like assigned mentors or people who have it isn't like their job description to mentor you. We're going to talk about mentors by choice, or mentors that you develop those relationships a little bit more organically. And so we'll come back to what the difference is between a mentor and a sponsor is. And I think a lot of folks aren't totally comfortable with what a sponsor is. And so
Yes.
it's very, very easy to just group a lot of things under mentor. And so, you know, you might ask someone who their mentor was, and they'll actually name someone who was more of a sponsor to them. And so when I talk about sponsors, I mean people who understand your ability and your worth and what you would bring to any situation. It's not just career. It might be relationships with other people, your own personal goals, but they recognize what those things are and they advocate for you in your absence and presence. And so it's a little bit different from a mentor who's maybe like there every step of the way. They see the hardships you've been through. They, you know, see you trying to navigate certain things and they can give you advice, but they've also, you know, they've seen way more than, say, a sponsor.
And I think
Yeah.
sometimes you're like a mentor can often turn into your sponsor. So somebody who mentors you that you talk to frequently about your work, and maybe they're in your same area
Yeah.
of work. So like that person is in a position to speak on your behalf
Yeah.
in those like maybe career advancement discussions or that kind of thing. But I mean, you can also have a mentor that's not even in your area.
Yeah.
So I have mentors who are in IT, but then I also have mentors who are like in the business, like they're not in IT at all. And that's more so just because when I'm looking for a mentor, I look for not just a career person, like somebody to advise me on my career, but also somebody to just advise me on my life.
Yeah.
Help me with my life. Please tell me if I'm doing this wrong. And so
Yeah.
that person isn't going to be in a position
Yeah.
to advocate or sponsor for you with your career just because they're in a completely different area.
And mentors, they are people that can kind of be with you through multiple stages of your career. So you might have had a mentor, say back in undergrad, that you're able to keep up with, you know, through graduate school, through, you know, finding a career. They really want to, yes, help you when they can help you. And a lot of times, at least in my experience, mentors can connect you
Yeah.
to people because they would recognize, you know what, this isn't necessarily my area of expertise, but because I care so much about you, I've seen your journey, like, let me connect you to this other person.
Yeah.
Now, this other person doesn't necessarily have the emotional connection to you. They haven't seen you, you know, blossom since you were in 5th grade or whatever. But again, because of their relationship with the person who is your mentor, they could potentially become a sponsor. Someone who they do have the similar, you know, expertise or background, or they are a little bit more understanding of the niche that you're filling, and they are really, really excited about your potential, you know, what you have already shown and how they can turn that into like an action. So that means getting you on a board. Does that mean getting you, you know, in front of particular people who would also be impressed? Your mentor might not be able to do that.
Yeah.
They could, but the person who you know, willingly becomes your sponsor, because it's not like being a mentor where you could ask someone to be your mentor, but asking someone to be your sponsor is nuts, but like
Well,
like outright. But I feel like if you've developed a relationship with someone to where they are already your mentor,
yes.
that's a little bit easier of a conversation. But
So I think
yeah.
from my perspective, I think maybe just where I work, they often tell you like you should ask
Yeah.
for somebody to be your sponsor. So maybe I haven't used those exact words in the
Sure.
past, like sponsor, but I like to ask, or I like to enable maybe my mentor to be able to speak on my behalf.
Sure.
And so that is something that I ask. Like, I want to give you all the information that you need so that you can speak to my abilities when I'm not in the room.
For sure.
Which, if we rewind to what she described as being a sponsor, that's what that is. It's
Yeah.
for somebody to advocate for you when you're not there. And so that's like a stylish way of asking somebody to be your sponsor, but
Yeah.
you're not using the words. But I think if you don't ask, then I don't know. The worst that somebody can say is no. But I mean,
Yeah,
they're probably
I
not
mean-
going to say no.
The thing about sponsorship, and I actually just think about myself as a mentor, like now, like people who I mentor or people who I could be a sponsor for, it actually comes down to like how the relationship is formed.
Yes.
And so one thing that I would always encourage other, young women in STEM or any professional background is actually think about your relationships. Think about the relationships you've already formed, and think about how the strongest ones develop very organically. They're not forced, they're not fake. Those actually end up being the strongest relationships, and they last, right? So finding a mentor, I think that is a really organic thing. Now, even though you can be intentional, it's still organic, because either you get along with this person or have something in common when you're talking, or you don't. Like either,
Oh, for sure.
you catch a vibe when you're talking or not. Otherwise, any professional person who's well off with you would just be like, hey, you be my mentor. No, there has to be
That doesn't work.
something to where when you guys meet and you talk every week or couple weeks, you actually like it, right? Whereas developing that relationship with a sponsor, I have found it's a little less personal and a little bit more about like what you can deliver. What is it that you can tell me that when you're not around and I'm just in a room and I hear an opportunity that kind of clicks with something I heard you said, for me to be able to just say, oh yeah, like, so-and-so's mentee, Jessica is interested in that. I would love to be able to connect you with her. Not that I know you that well, but maybe the interactions that we have had, you impressed me.
Okay.
And so I want, who doesn't want to be behind like a great story? Like when you see somebody, they're full of promise, they look like they are hardworking. I mean, who doesn't want to get behind a person like that? So you see somebody and you're just like, I maybe don't have time or the expertise to mentor you. Like I'm not an expert in math or engineering. But when I hear of an opportunity where it seems like you could thrive, I feel comfortable putting my reputation on the line for you, just because of what I've seen. So I think that's a little bit of it. And people won't do that for everyone, which is why it's harder to find a sponsor than a mentor, I think.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I guess I haven't thought about it like that. And also, I think I've maybe been more lucky in that a lot of my mentors have turned into people who advocate for me, which is a blessing. That's very nice. But I will go back to kind of what you said about letting the relationship develop organically. So that manager that had given me a list, he actually gave me a long, lengthy list, kind of a lot of, women of color in IT. And he was like, you should start with these people. Like, this is before I even joined the elite program. I had worked there for maybe a month. And he gave me this list and he was like, reach out to these people. And I mean, out of that list of people, there's only like 3 people on the list who I actually, like, till today, like 3 years later, have a good relationship with them, and I meet with them frequently, and that kind of thing. And so, yeah, I mean, the relationship has to be organic, and you have to have something in common with them. Otherwise, the meetings aren't as exciting.
Yeah. And I think there is something to being the person who does the handoff.
Yes.
Right? So sometimes, again, you recognize that it's not in your wheelhouse. It's not something that you are having expertise in, but you went to college with someone who did, or you're in a group chat with someone who does this or that, or you've been in a program with them, something to where they also trust your expertise. So I end up having to pass people off to other folks all the time. If people reach out to me and they want to be mentored or talking about certain things, is great. But if I can think of like 3 more people who would be better suited to talk to you, like, I would much rather do that, because I feel that actually shows you that I care about you a little bit more. Because you could, I guess, just talk to me, and I guess that's cool. But as a person who wants to see you go to, the next level, how about I link you up with this person or this person who could maybe get some wheels turning faster than I could. So a sponsor, I think, is something that we should all strive to be. Like, it's something for someone. You should look for chances to give someone the spotlight. When you see an opportunity that people are looking to fill and they are really drawing a blank, or if you're hearing that list of people and you're not hearing any, so-called women of color, you're not hearing any names of Black women, you're not hearing any names of people who are underrepresented, it's a good feeling to be able to say, well, I have a suggestion. It's so-and-so. And they might never find out that it was you who, recommended them or said their name. And they don't need to know unless it's something you're planning on doing long-term for them. But I find it rewarding to, be that person because so many people have been that for me. So you might not always have the time to actively mentor someone, but you can kind of be that behind-the-scenes sponsor for young women especially.
And so I am not necessarily at the place in my career where I mentor very many people. Maybe just one person has asked me to be a mentor, and that is awesome. That felt really good. But I'm more so at the place in my career where I see that people are doing that for me. Like, people are recommending me, or people are throwing my name in the hat when things are being discussed. And yes, I mean, it's a nice feeling to feel like, oh wow, like you didn't forget me. And so I could imagine that it's a very rewarding experience to be on the other end. And so that is something that I'm looking forward to, hopefully paying it forward and doing that for others behind me.
Yeah, that's how it works. So I think, just main takeaways, I think we should all, seek out mentorship. Mentorship never gets old. You can always acquire mentors, like Ami mentioned, outside of your field. That's actually a great way to build your network, is if your network is diverse. And we don't mean just diversity in race and ethnicity, actually diverse. Like, this one's an artist, this one's a painter, this one's a scientist, this one codes. People that actually have different talents and different expertise, and they're in different aspects of your life. Is always great. And then actively pursuing sponsorship, but from people you have already built relationships with, I think is a good takeaway. And, don't get discouraged. You might seek out people. You might see someone on LinkedIn or see someone read an article about them, and you're like, I'm going to reach out to them, and then you don't hear back from them. That is really common in science.
That is very, very common.
Okay.
I think across the board.
Yeah.
I've been there.
And I've heard people say, how do you even find mentors? I've emailed such and such, and they've never emailed me back. That's the thing you have to realize with some people. If you are seeking them out as a mentor or someone to chat with, I mean, it's times 100 for whoever else saw that article or saw them on TV, or especially when you're going for these high profile individuals. Don't get discouraged. Look at their LinkedIn, look at other folks that work at their company.
Yeah, cast a wide net.
Yeah, it doesn't just have to be that particular person. If you can't speak with the CEO, work your way down. I know it sounds silly, but I mean, someone will talk to you, and so just don't necessarily get discouraged by, I've tried to find mentors, but nobody will help me, because there is a person that is going to be willing to talk to you for sure. So just stay persistent. Don't be a bugaboo, but be persistent. And I'm just saying,
I mean,
don't email me back to back.
Don't nag the same person over and over again, because that's a little bit weird. But I think it pays off to be persistent in the sense of, okay, you didn't answer, I'm gonna still find somebody else. So that goes into the not getting discouraged part.
I've written people snail mail, because I said, you know what, your phones are busy. That I understand that totally and completely. I also want to leave your AO alone, your admin alone. So you know what works? Good old fashioned sitting down and writing a card, writing what I think, and putting it in the mail. They're still getting mail. in these here United States. And so
Well, so I've never done
I have done that. So that person is still my mentor to this day.
okay. So then, okay, it works.
So, I mean, because for some people, the calling, like, you can't, there's some people that, like, you can't get to them almost. Like, you can't by phone calls or by, like, emails. Someone else is reading their emails. They're not, you know, it is difficult to get to them. So, but they open their mail. So that's just here to drop
Major
some
key,
gems,
major
you
key.
know. Anyway, I think that's all I had.
That's also all that I had.
Get yourselves mentors, sponsors. If you have any other ideas for how you found your mentor or how you have been helped by having a sponsor, leave a comment or two for us. Let us know your tips and tricks on maintaining mentors and also having sponsors in your life. And we can't wait to hear what they are.
Wonderful. It's been great, guys.
All right. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later.